All right, in three, two, one, go. All right, so this is my first podcast episode ever. And I've always been really, really afraid to start a podcast because there's so many podcasts out there, right? So many black podcasts out there. And sometimes the market just seems so wide and just seems so unavailable for me to be able to speak and for my voice to be heard, right? But I felt really, really compelled today to actually start a podcast. I literally just got my headphones, plugged it into my Mac, started up GarageBand, and here we go. I feel so strongly compelled to start a podcast because the message that's being put out by black men and black women are something that I feel like has not been beneficial to all of us as a culture, right? I think that on both sides of the spectrum, each have valid points about some of their disdain, right, towards the other gender. But on an even bigger level, there's a chess game being played here by the white man that I feel like we are falling right into, right? So, since the beginning of the construction of the black family and the black household, the United States has tried extremely hard to break up this dynamic. A black family can put their income together, both a man and a woman, and all of a sudden you go from a family that makes $50,000 a year to $100,000 a year, right? Just that quick. And with that amount of wealth, you're then able to go ahead and buy property and start buying land. And the U.S. doesn't like that, right? Excuse me. The U.S. is not a fan of black people elevating themselves to new levels, right? And so they've done a lot of things to try and stop black people from being able to get to that next point. Whether it's redlining, whether it's blocking loans and mortgages from banks, all sorts of crazy things, right? So right now we had the war on drugs. And the war on drugs essentially sent a lot of black men to prison, right, for small amounts of marijuana, small amounts of drugs and narcotics, right? They were getting football numbers for small amounts of drugs that they should have never gotten that amount for, right? So yeah, they get locked up, and now you have a full family house turned into a single mother and kids. And of course, that's just not gonna work, right? When two people have a child, they need to stay together to take care of that child. You can't just expect one half to be able to do it because that child ends up missing lessons and missing things that they should have had the entire time. And I don't have anything written down here, by the way, so sometimes my thoughts might come off a little bit all over the place, but I want you guys to stay with me on this one, right? So, when the mom and dad are apart, the kid suffers the most, right? But a lot of times, there are a lot of internal feelings that we may hold in ourselves that we feel are more important than how the child feels, right? Understandably so. So, I was a victim of it myself. My dad went to prison when I was still in my mom's womb. Now, he went to prison for a different reason. He ended up hitting a cop who smacked him in the middle of the street. He says for no reason. And he retaliated. He punched the cop. He got sentenced to 7 years in prison. And my mom was very, very angry behind this. She felt like my dad was irresponsible. She felt like my dad didn't care about the consequences. I didn't think about the consequences before doing them. Obviously, he didn't. And due to that, it set my life and her life on a completely different trajectory than what might have been different, because he wasn't around for me growing up. I was raised by my mom and my sister. This caused for me to have a lot of feminine traits about myself, which wasn't bad, but growing up in the South Bronx, you could see how having certain feminine traits might come off different than everybody else, right? So a lot of times growing up, I was called a faggot, I was called a bitch, why you so gay, why you acting like that, why you so happy all the time, and it really hurt me. It really broke me down deep inside because here I am just being myself, right? I'm not thinking that how I'm being is feminine or how I'm just being me, right? But the energy in New York City is very, very hyper masculine, and we'll get into that, right, as well. But I grew up a little bit more on the feminine side when I was younger. My mom was always very angry at my dad, oftentimes cursing him, oftentimes telling me, to not be like that, oftentimes keeping me as far away from the streets as possible to make sure I didn't end up going down that road. But I always had a soft spot for my dad. I didn't know him. Even when I was, I met him when I was 7, but before that, I didn't know him. But I always had this soft spot for my dad. I always wanted to know who he was. I did. I was a kid. Kids deserve to have both their parents. So I always wanted to know who my dad was. But it's like I couldn't hate him. I didn't know him to hate him, right? I was never one of those kids that could do that. So when it got down to the point of her talking about him, she often was like, your dad's good for nothing. He left when he hit that cop and now he's not here. These bills are too high. I can't afford nothing. If only, if only, if only. And you could see how over the years the bitterness grew, right? The resentment grew. The inability to be able to curse him out grew. The inability to be able to let him know how she truly felt grew. And as that went along, she passed that down to me. And if I didn't have a level head, I would have been bitter towards my dad too. He would have tried to probably come back into my life. I probably would have been like, hell no, get the heck out of here. I don't need you, things like that. Where deep down inside, I do. Deep down inside, I love, my dad. I would need my dad. I want to play catch with my dad. I want to learn how to use a screwdriver. I want to learn about girls. And this kind of brings me to the next point. A lot of black men didn't have the opportunity to grow up with their dads, period, right? And even if they did grow up with their dads, some of their dads already had a kind of toxic mentality that probably was passed down to the kid. But I really want to focus on the black men who didn't get to grow up with their dads. Because they didn't get to grow up with their fathers, they had to figure out what it meant to be a man. And depending on where you were born and where you were raised, being a man means completely different things. So for me in the South Bronx, being a man meant someone mess with me, someone disrespects me, I fight them. Off rip. Don't matter who it is, right? If I don't fight them, I'm pussy. That was the rule, right? And you can see how over the years in New York City, that rule has grown, right? Because now the same black men who in school was arguing and fighting against the teachers because they felt disrespected by them, grow up and fight and disrespect the police because they feel disrespected by them. And the police are disrespectful sometimes and have their issues and things like that. That's a whole different conversation. But at the end of the day, them being disrespectful to the police only ends in two ways: death or jail. You don't be disrespectful to the police and end on a good note from that, right? So falling into the trap, right? You already see how these traps is being set up, right? So boom. White America creates the war on drugs. The war on drugs goes ahead and attacks our black men, locks them up, right? All these black men get locked up. There's no father in the household. Now that there's no father in the household, the woman is left to fend for herself, taking care of kids, right? The bitterness grows, respectfully so, and over time, that gets passed down to the kids, who you either have daughters who hate their dads or sons who hate their dads. Daughters who hate their dads end up growing up and sometimes end up dating men that exhibit traits of their father. It's weird, right? You would think that they would go the complete opposite way, but oftentimes they try to go towards men who aren't really about nothing, who are kind of deadbeats, who don't really have a lot of responsibility, who do run from their problems in hopes of changing them. They want to change these men to make them into the man that they always wanted growing up. The black men who end up growing up hating their father can either go in two directions. They can either grow up to be gay, right? Because sometimes the hate for men is so strong that you just want to go either the opposite direction, or you end up loving men and you want to try to change them, and you want to try to change them into the ideal man that you want in your life. Or you could end up hating your father and even going more towards women and becoming, abusive. And the reason why a lot of black men can become abusive towards their women is because they may have been raised by a single mom who let out a lot of their frustrations on them, or a single mom who tried to change their son into a husband as opposed to an actual child, right? So then you have all these things that get perpetuated, all these different actions that come as a result of the black men not being a part of the household, right? You have black children, who don't have that strong male figure, so they believe in their mind that they're untouchable, right? There's no consequence, right? Because as much as a black woman can beat their son, you know what I'm saying? At some point, that son is going to grow up. And where does all that aggression go? It goes out into the streets, it goes out into their woman, it goes out into their job, and to all these various places that really is only a detriment to the black man and to the black woman, right? And so we're starting to see how these puzzle, how the trap is all set up. And now it's gotten to a point in 2022 where these black men and women have grown up. These black men and women have grown up without their fathers around and things like that. And then they get platforms, right? Such as podcasts, such as TikTok, things of that sort. And they're able to use these platforms to give a message. And they mean well. Don't get me wrong. I think that's what we have to understand, is that they all mean well. Nobody starts a podcast and goes, yeah, I'm going to ruin the black community. No one's thinking like that. They're thinking, no, this is the right way to think. This is the way to think to be able to get yourself ahead, to become the best version of yourself. But because they may not have seek therapy, because they may not have, worked on themselves and have people in their lives who checked them, they got to a certain point in their life where they just felt like they were right. And so now they come on here and, I just saw a video recently, right? There was a white guy who essentially was saying that he was very, very sick and tired of seeing these black men talking down to black women. Like, essentially, it seems that every black man that starts a podcast, their first episode is talking about black women and about how women need to be more like this and how they need to. And you can tell that, like, they're in a certain stage in their life where they are still very bitter about black women. And to my black men, I really want to share some advice with y'all about women and about getting black women and about maybe some of the reasons why you've had some frustrations, right? I'm a very, very fair person. I tend to be able to see both sides very, very objectively. And my goal in this is to hope to actually bring us together to teach us game on both sides so that we're able to actually come together and create that family dynamic again in the black household, as opposed to letting white America win. Because if they win and our families get broken up, we will never get anywhere in this country. So let me start with black men. All right, black men. So a lot of black men are mad at black women. I'll just keep it a band with you. I was a bitter black man at one point, and I'm going to give the reason why I was, and maybe a lot of other black men have gone through this as well. I told you guys that growing up, I was very feminine, right? I wasn't OD feminine, but I wasn't the most masculine guy. I didn't hit puberty early. I wasn't one of these guys in school who was like 5'10" in the 6th grade. Like, I didn't have pubic hair. I didn't have armpit hair, mustache, nothing. Like, I was a kid. I was a kid I was supposed to be, right? Right, normal. And I liked girls, right? You get to a certain age as a man, as a black man, where you start to like girls, you start to see them, and you start to go, okay, like, I kind of want to see what's up with that, So you go and you don't really know because your dad's not around. So my dad wasn't really around, so I didn't really know how to get girls. To me, I thought that just doing whatever I saw on TV would work, right? So, on TV, I saw men, buying girls flowers and taking them out on dates and saying how pretty they are and how beautiful they are. And the girl would just fall head over heels for the guy, and then you got a girlfriend, right? So, in 5th grade, I got this girl named Janet a card for Valentine's Day. And Janet was Mexican, right? No offense. I just thought that she was pretty, right? And I got her a little card for Valentine's Day, and I gave it to her, right? And she laughed in my face. I was in 5th grade. I was 10 years old. The whole class laughed after that. Next Valentine's Day, I'm like, all right, Mexican girl, maybe she just likes Mexican guys, that's normal. I grew up in the South Bronx. I'm not like a hater. I'm young thinking like this too. I'm smart. I'm thinking like, oh yeah, maybe she just likes Mexican guys. I didn't blame her for not liking me. It hurt, but I never blamed her. Next year after, I give a Valentine's Day card to a girl named Sade. Black girl, right? I liked Sade. Sade was cool, right? And I gave her a Valentine's Day card, and I swear to God, she pushed me down on the ground, and she grabbed me by my balls. I'm not playing. I'm dead serious. It's going to sound crazy. She grabbed me by my balls, bro, and she damn near picked me up off the ground. I was a small guy, right? And it's funny and people want to laugh, but it's not. Because when you're a young boy, 10, 11 years old, and you're grabbed down there and lifted, the pain, 1, 2, the disrespect, 3, I just liked you, bro. All I wanted to do was give you Valentine's Day to show you how much I care about you. Even if you don't like me back, where's your respect of being able to just say, hey, thank you so much, Aaron, but I'm not really too interested. That's okay. I would have accepted that. But if for any reason Sade didn't grow up with her father, or if for any reason her father wasn't the ideal spitting image of a man or things of that sort, maybe she was never taught how to deal with those situations. Maybe instead of her being kind in those situations and loving, she was taught to be aggressive. You know what I'm saying? She was taught to be defensive, right? And in turn, it kind of fell on me. And me being a young boy, I wasn't able to understand that. It sent me down a spiral. I thought women were just evil. I thought women just wanted to hurt me. You know what I'm saying? I grew up with a single mom, and my single mom was very abusive to me growing up. You know, my sister wasn't always perfect either. You know, she whipped me before. She was 7 years older than me. She gave me a beating before. As a kid, sometimes she would stick me under the freaking couch cushions and sit on me. I grew up in an environment where a lot of black women took advantage of me. I was a young boy, and it made me very resentful towards black women growing up. It did. I felt like black women just didn't know what they wanted. I felt like they would say one thing, and then when I would try and be that thing, somehow the goalposts would move, and I wouldn't be included in it. Right? I felt like black women always went towards the bullies growing up. Always went towards the bullies and the guys who sagged their pants and the guys who were just bad guys who never went to class, who was never like. It was like, sure, they were cooler, right? But it's like, what's the mentality of black women when they're kids and what they go after? Why are they going after those kind of men? Who do those men remind them of? What are they trying to change in these men? Right? So these are all subconscious thoughts that black women probably didn't even think about being a kid, right? But it made me resentful. I felt like, okay, so, I tried to continue being myself. I tried to continue growing up and, there was a girl, I remember, my dad took me to a funeral. So I had, like a button up, a tie. I was probably like 14, slacks, all that. I was sleeping over at my aunt's sister's house, right? Yes, aunt, sister. Long story. I'll explain another time. But, yeah, like I was over there and there was a girl that I liked and I met up with her there and I took her out. I bought her flowers. Like, man, I bought her flowers. I had a button up. I had a tie. I had slacks, all that, man. And I took her out and we spent the whole day together, laughing, talking. I sat her down and I asked her out. And she said, "Sorry, Aaron, you're just too nice for me." What? Too nice? No. This is not what I seen on TV. This is not what I was taught to. This is not what I was told. I was told that if you're respectful, if you dress like a good man, if you take a girl out, if you get her some flowers, if you're funny, you'll get the girl. But that's not always the case. I think back then I didn't look as good as I wanted to. You feel me? Like maybe my face wasn't set right, whatever. I had pimples, bumps, whatever. I didn't hit puberty early, so I had a boy face. Maybe I didn't look as good. And maybe she didn't want to tell me, "Hey, you don't look as good." But if I didn't look as good, why'd you spend the whole day with me? Why'd you let me take you out? Why'd you let me buy you stuff? You know what I'm saying? But she probably just didn't know any better. See, I'm not in the game of just blaming nowadays. Back then, yeah, I used to blame. I was young. I was 14. It was like, fuck her. You know what I'm saying? She don't know what she's talking about. She just blah, blah, blah. And then over time, it just made me bitter, man. Another girl, Sapphire. I remember staying up all night with her, writing her poems, always talking to her, always, and being a listening ear for her. And then she came out with a boyfriend who was in the Navy. And it was like, whenever her and her boyfriend would go through stuff, she would run back to me and she would be trying to talk to me. And I'm a young boy. I'm thinking, okay, that boy's going to mess up and then she'll realize that he's a clown and then she'll come back to me. But that wasn't what it was. She wanted both. She wanted to have her cake and she wanted to eat it too. You know what I'm saying? And so she kind of used me. And she used my time and she used my listening ear. And I know a lot of black men go through a lot of these same scenarios. I'm being so transparent so that y'all can know that I went through it too. You know what I'm saying? That was for me like one of the final straws. Like Sapphire, I really, really liked a lot. She was really, really smart. All right, my apologies. My phone actually overheated. It's sitting on top of my laptop right now. Again, episode 1, I felt compelled to make this. So my apologies. It's not going to be the best quality right now, but the message is what really, really matters here, right? So back to my story, right? Sapphire. hurt me, bro. Broke my heart. I feel like she used and abused me. I was sick of it. I was tired of it, bro. I felt like no matter what I did, it just wasn't working. And this is where black men have a choice in their life, right? This is when, as a kid, black men make the decision about what kind of man they want to become. Is it fuck bitches? Or is it, how do I get these bitches? It's two different ways that black men go a lot of times. And you'll see as they get older kind of what they chose, what choice they make. If you chose the fuck these bitches mentality, right? Excuse my language. If you chose that mentality, you probably grew up just being like, oh, they worthless, they nothing. I'ma just go ahead and just do what I can do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not even gonna worry about them. I'ma just worry about my bread, get my money, get my, you know what I'm saying, get my paper up, whatever. Fuck them, I don't really need them. You might end up with another race of women. You might end up trying to go after a white woman. You might end up trying to go after a Spanish woman. You might have just said, you know what, maybe it's just the race. Right? If I tried so hard against black women and if they didn't like me, and if they didn't want to be with me for whatever reason, when I tried being nice, let me try being nice towards another race and see what happens. Right? For me, I didn't go that route because I liked different races. So I tried with a Mexican, I tried with black, I tried with Spanish. It all ended up being the same. So I realized it's not about black women, it's about all women, right? And then you go the other direction of, I'm out to get these girls, right? So that's the direction I went. I remember this vividly, like it was yesterday. I was laying in my bed. I had my iPod Touch with me. I was 14 years old. And I went on YouTube and I looked up how to get girls. I looked it up. I YouTubed it. And I saw these videos come up. And back then, there was no, like, alpha male videos back then. Like, that wasn't a thing. Like, this is when YouTube was first started. I was 14. I'm 26 now, so about 12 years ago. So what would that have been? 2010. So there really wasn't too many like alpha male videos. These were just videos about like, all right, how do you kind of use what women already like at your age to your advantage to get the girls, right? And so they broke some things down to me. They would say, all right, do you have nice clothes? Right? I grew up poor, so no, I did not have nice clothes. How's your hygiene? Do you have a haircut? Like, do you often get your haircut every week? Or do you let it grow out and look however? You have a shape up? How do you smell? Do you wear cologne? What kind of body wash do you use? These even just 4 things in of itself is just basic things that a woman can see on you and smell on you before you ever even open your mouth. Your teeth. Do you brush your teeth? You know what I'm saying? Do you use mouthwash? Do you carry gum with you? Like, those are things that I wasn't doing. I'll be honest with you. I wasn't doing those things. Yeah, of course I was brushing my teeth and stuff like that, but it's like I wasn't carrying gum all around with me. You know, if I did take a shower, I probably took a shower maybe like once, twice a day. I wasn't really trying to, you know, in the summertime, I was a kid, you know, I'm playing around, not really thinking about that kind of stuff. My clothes, I used to throw on whatever. I grew up poor. I didn't have a lot of clothes. So I didn't really know about finessing and making outfits. I just kind of threw whatever on. You know, I'm thinking that girls should like me for who I am. Unfortunately, this is not that kind of game. This is not that kind of world. At that age, women really aren't mature enough to understand that it's deeper than just the surface. And even if that were the case, they shouldn't have to lower their standards of what they like because I disagree with the standard, right? So I had to change some of those things, right? I got a summer job through Summer Youth. And I used the money to go to Jimmy Jazz and to buy some clothes, right? So I started buying some fitteds, started buying some nice shirts, some shoes and some pants, you feel me? Like, so now I'm dressing a little bit different. I started buying some Axe body spray or just, you know, back then, you know, Axe was good. So I bought some Axe body spray. I started taking more showers. I started getting haircuts. I got the little, like S-curl John, so I could S-curl my hair. So now I'm looking a little bit different, right? Lesson 2 I learned on the YouTube was, okay, when you walk up to a girl, don't just jump right into asking for their number. A lot of girls don't like that. A lot of girls want you to walk up to them and start a conversation about whatever, just to make them feel like you want them more than just their body. Because a lot of girls are thinking, you know, a guy walks up to them, a lot of girls think, what does he want? Did he see my butt? Did he see my boobs? Did he sexualize me from across the street? And now he's walking up to me to try and talk to me. Like, girls think like that, right? So you have to kind of work against that and go, okay, let's go up to them and let's talk about something. So a lot of times I would walk up to them and go, hey, I'm heading over to school or whatever, my like favorite subject is such and such. Are you headed there too? And it wasn't exactly like that, but I would just find anything to like talk about. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, like, not gonna lie, like you look beautiful, but I didn't really want to address you on that level. I'm headed to school. Is it okay if I just walk you to the bus stop? You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of times these beautiful women that I never could have talked to before would say, sure. At least, because for them it was like, oh wow, like he's different. He didn't just come up to me and start talking to me crazy. He didn't come up to me and just touch me. None of that. You know what I'm saying? I started a casual conversation. And what I came to find out is that these women had a lot to offer in terms of just that casual conversation. And we would end up talking about some phenomenal things, even in the span of walking 2-3 blocks down the road. So we walked these 2-3 blocks down the road, and at this time I have an iPod Touch and I have a track phone, right? I have a Obama phone, as some may call it. Remember, I grew up poor. The iPod Touch I probably stole from somebody. I'm gonna just keep it a band with you. And I never pulled out the track phone, talk to them. I used to, but I stopped doing that too because I realized that me pulling out a track phone shows that I don't have a lot of money. And why would a girl want a guy that doesn't have a lot of money? It's just how it is. Rather than fight against the rules and be mad at the rules, just go with it. I pulled out my iPod Touch, you know what I'm saying? Went into the Notes app, you feel me? Gave him the iPod Touch. They put in the phone number. I went to my house or, after school, I downloaded the text free app and I'm texting them on the iPod Touch. They never knew. They never knew what the vibe was. But for me, it was like, oh yeah, like this is starting to work now. You know what I'm saying? So now, lesson 3. The guy says, okay, on your way to wherever you're going, try to talk to at least 3 girls on your way there. And just keep doing it. And not every exchange went well. Some girls would just be like, no, not interested. We would talk the whole time and I'll ask for a number. They'd be like, oh no, I have a boyfriend. We'll get into that another time. And, or they'll go and walk down the whole block and be like, nah, I'm cool. That was fine. Because I was more worried about getting the exposure, getting the lesson, getting the experience, just talking to girls, trying to demystify them. Because for a lot of men, a lot of black men, girls are a mystery. So if I could find a way to demystify them, the 4th lesson was girls are human. They're not these things that don't make sense. They are human beings. All human beings make sense. You just have to understand them. So once I was able to kind of see them as human and demystify them, it became a lot easier to talk to them. And even though I didn't look the best, I smelled good, I dressed well, I had a haircut, and I knew how to talk to girls, right? I didn't have to look the best because I had things about me and characteristics about me that I could control in myself that a lot of these men that did look good didn't ever have to work on or do because they used their looks to pretty much carry them ahead, right? And all of a sudden, things starting to change. Now, I'm turning 15, 16, and now I'm starting to hit puberty, right? Finally, after all these years. So now I'm starting to get a little bit bigger, a little taller. I went from like 5'5" to about 5'10". I got a little beard on me now. My voice is getting a little bit deeper. My balls is dropping. Like, I'm starting to really, grow into a man. I already was working on myself. I already was talking to girls every single day. I already was doing my thing. So now I'm a menace. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm just getting whatever girl I want. It don't matter, bro. There were girls I talked to that should have dubbed me. There were girls I talked to that were way out of my league that I was able to get because I knew how they thought, I knew what they wanted, and I knew what I could provide. Instead of being bitter towards the woman and saying, oh, they don't like me, I just became everything that they wanted me to be, right? But this also wasn't the perfect plan, right? Because then I became a little bit manipulative. I knew exactly what they wanted to hear. I knew exactly what to tell them. I knew exactly how they wanted me to dress, all that. And, a lot of black women will call that manipulative, but can you really blame a guy who, when they tried the healthy way, it didn't work, and they were forced to grow up learning how y'all think to be able to get y'all? All I wanted was girls. Sorry. You know what I'm saying? I'm not blaming black women, but because of how black women grew up in certain households without the black men there, they weren't always taught about what they should take from a man, how to value themselves, things of that sort, right? So because of that, they didn't even know how to accept a kind, scrawny little black kid that was smart, really, really good in school, really, really smart. They didn't know how to give me a chance. You know what I'm saying? They only knew what they liked. I don't blame them for that, but it did hurt me growing up, and it did cause me to become a certain kind of guy. So at some point, I'm running through these girls like a track meet. Like, it's bad out here. Like, I'm getting whatever girl I want. I've ruined friendships with guys for girls. There were girls that would dub my friends that were like me, that I would get with. Like, it didn't matter to me. I was just so focused on, like, healing that hurt kid and healing that bruised ego growing up, that I didn't really care. So now I'm starting to hurt girls. Now girls want to be my girlfriend, and I'm telling them I'm not really looking for that. You know what I'm saying? I'm just looking to have sex. I'm just looking to kiss. I'm just looking to be, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not really looking for that. And now I have girls crying in my face. Now I have black women running away from me. Now I have black women calling me the demon and the devil spawn. For real. Now all of a sudden I become public enemy number one. You know? Crazy how that all kind of worked. And looking back on that time, it's like all these years later, it's like, geez, like, I kind of figured out, all right, like, is this worth it? Because it grew from high school into college now too, right? Now college gets there, and in my freshman year, my first semester, I was a menace. Oh my God. You're talking about 18, 19-year-old woman in their youth and straight out of high school with freedom that they never had before, and I was able to get out of a school, and I mean out of my household. They kind of have my own life outside. My mom died when I was 18, right? So I'll talk about that at another episode too. But my mom died when I was 18, so for me it was like, oh yeah, like, how do I heal this hole in my heart? You know what I'm saying? Like, I felt a big gap, a big hole in my heart. And I felt like getting girls was a way to kind of heal that hole in my heart. And because of that, I hurt a lot of women too. I had a girlfriend after that, and I put her through the ringer in so many different ways. I hurt her in so many different ways because I was trying to fill that hole in my heart. I didn't know what it meant to be a man. I figured it out on my own. I just went through things, you know what I'm saying? And it was really, really tough. It caused me to kind of like hate myself for a long time because I'm like, yo, what kind of man am I? Like, what kind of man am I that I'm hurting these women? For what? Like, what did these women ever do to me? You know what I'm saying? Like, at some point, I had to stop blaming my past and stop blaming the girls that were young. They were young. They were children. They didn't know any better. You know what I'm saying? I had to stop blaming them and really start looking like, bro, at some point, Aaron, like, you're wilding. Like, at some point, you have to be able to self-reflect and see that just getting girls is not the answer. Getting girls does not make you a better man. Getting girls does not make you into this guy that you're trying to be. Treating girls with respect, treating women with respect, being the man that they need you to be. Raising a family by them, being that strong foundation, being that bridge, working on yourself, building yourself up to be the best man possible, for it to trickle down to your woman and to your kids. That's what it means to be a man. Not taking no excuses. Not letting the world just tip you here and tip you there. Being the master of your fate and the captain of your soul. Pushing yourself to the maximum limit. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's working out, whether it's money, whether it's finances. Like, there's so many aspects of being a man that you have control over to change. I'm so sorry it actually happened again. So let me wrap this up, right? I don't want this to go on for too long. I wanted it to be about a 30-minute episode. It's bleeding into about 45. But this is a really, really big topic, and I really, really care about it. And I think that it's necessary to lay a good foundation and framework for the rest of the stuff that I want to talk about on this podcast, right? So let me just cut right to the chase. The moral of the story is, black men, your job is that you need to go to therapy. You need to. You have to, right? When you do go to therapy, you need to find out who your inner child is. And you need to ask yourself, who hurt me? What woman in my life manipulated me, abused me, took me for granted, and violated me? What woman in my life hurt me? Took away my trust? Who did that? Was it my mom? Was it my sister? Was it a girl in the 5th grade? Who was that? And what I need you to do is then look at that situation and go, it's not my fault. I didn't do anything wrong that made them treat me like that. I was a kid. And being a kid, I was naive. I will never blame myself for being naive, because being naive is something that only children can do. And you're only a child for a short amount of time. The rest of your life, you have to be an adult, right? You cherish the innocence. You cherish the naiveness of the kid, right? You don't blame them for that. And what you also have to do is then forgive the girl or the woman that hurt you. Whether it was your mom, whether it was your sister, or whether it was that girl in the 5th grade, you need to be able to look back and go, hey, whatever they went through that caused them in their life to do what they did to me, I need to be able to forgive them for. One, because the past is the past, and what's said is done. You can't change the past. But two, because you need to be able to move forward. And the faster that you're able to heal, the more that you'll be able to take control of your life. And instead of lashing out at Black women, instead of being bitter, instead of being angry, instead of hurting them, you can start to love on them. You can start to analyze them and see what they're going through and some of the trials and tribulations that they've went through in their life. And you can start to help them through it. You can start to show them as a Black man that you're not the same as all the Black men that have come before them and hurt them, or have abused them, or taken advantage of them, right? Now for my Black woman, right? You also need to go to therapy, right? You need to. You have to. You have to go to therapy. And you need to find out who your inner child is. And you need to ask yourself, what man hurt me? What man manipulated me? What man broke my trust? What man took advantage of me? What man sexualized me? You know? What man did that to me? Was it my dad? What man abandoned me? Sorry, one last thing. Was it my dad? Was it my brother? Or was it some boy in the 5th grade? Was it some boy in the 8th grade? Was it some boy in high school? Was it some boy in college? And then what you need to do is go back in your past and forgive yourself. It wasn't your fault. How could you have known? Why should you, being a trusting woman, cause you to get hurt? There's nothing wrong with that. You should always stay trusting and always stay who you are, the loving, kind, trusting person that you are, because that's what the world needs. And don't let bad people change who you are at your core. So you need to forgive yourself, right? It wasn't your fault. Sure, you had maybe one too many drinks. Sure, maybe your friends tried to warn you. Sure, maybe you knew better. But love makes you do crazy things. Women are guided by the heart. Sometimes the heart can confuse you. So you need to be able to forgive yourself. And then here comes the hardest part. You need to be able to forgive the man that hurt, manipulated, and took advantage of you. It's hard. This is where it gets deep. This is where it gets really, really hard and tricky. But you're not doing it to relieve the man of the blame. You're doing it to relieve yourself. You're doing it to get that memory and that situation that happened in your mind to be fully expunged and dealt with. And once it's dealt with, you'll be able to move forward and look at Black men and want to support them, as opposed to support yourself. You know what I'm saying? And as opposed to feeling like you don't got nobody. And as opposed to feeling like you trash and you just gotta work on your, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's not the right way to go. You know? So it's deep. And it's gonna take work on both sides, both on the Black man side and on the Black woman side. But I think growing up, we all had good intentions. Us Black men and women. We all thought that we knew what we wanted. And because white America put us all in the bubble and hurt us on both sides by taking away our Black men, both sides grew up in disadvantageous ways and formed certain psychological nuances in their brain. And then with that, we're able to attack each other. How do you break up a nation and a foundation? You know what I'm saying? You make them fight each other. It's chess. And white America is winning because instead of us trying to really psychoanalyze ourselves, we're just pointing the finger at the next gender, saying how they don't like this and they gotta be like this and they gotta do this, and we're never really getting to a solution. So I wanted to make this podcast as the solution. I wanted to use my own experiences to show you guys that I'm right here with you. I know exactly what you're going through, but show you the steps that you can take to be able to get to a healing place, to be able to eventually have us all grow, have us all come together, and have us as black people elevate. Because once black women and black men are able to forgive each other and truly come together in a healing space, and then have families and not abandon our families, right? And black men not do anything that would jeopardize your family, right? Such as your pride and trying to prove something to somebody and doing things illegal. And black women, when you want to do things that may go against your pride, it may go against how you feel about yourself and what you should be doing versus, you know what I'm saying? Like once that's done, and black men and women come together and have kids and teach those kids those same rules and steps and stuff. Now you have those kids growing up in completely different ways. And now we start to see how the domino effect plays, and now we're Gucci. Now the first step is done. Now we as a unit can start to attack white America and fight against this racism, right? As opposed to trying to do it separate, all in our own ways, because it's not working. And now we have a white man telling us to chill. Now we have a white man trying to tell black men how to be. And he wasn't wrong. But it shouldn't take a white man having to say that for it to end. I felt compelled to make this. Something in my spirit told me to just start it up. It said, forget all the extra details. Forget trying to be perfect. It's not about trying to be perfect. You just do. And if the message is good and if the message is pure, hopefully I'm doing a good service to the world. So this is episode number 1, man. Podcast episode number 1. I'm throwing this up on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all that. If you guys liked it, if you guys felt like what I was saying was true and I was spitting some facts, man, let me know down in the comments below. And let me know what you guys want for episode number 2, man, because I can deep dive into a lot of things. I just want to help us as a community. And thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for being a part of this. And I don't even know what I'm going to title this just yet. I'm going to probably title it Not Another Podcast, just to be funny. But yeah, that's it, man. I hope that you guys enjoyed. Aaron out. Peace.